Hey, it's Wednesday. That means it's WebDM. I'm Pruitt, this is Jim Davis, and today we're trading in the dice bag for a mailbag of holding. All right, Jim, people are out there, they have questions.
Yeah.
They want to know what we know.
I'm surprised, but sure.
Same here.
Why would we hold that information back?
Well, because we have to have something in the bag, so let's see what it is.
Ooh, a mailbag.
All right. John from Mithril Hall would like to know, my players want to use the D&D Wiki as their primary source at the game table, and I just want them to use the book. What do you got to say to that?
You know, if there's nothing necessarily wrong with them using online sources, if they're talking like 3rd edition or Pathfinder, the wikis for those are fairly accurate. I can see why you might not want the players using something that anyone can edit and the authenticity of it can't be verified.
They do have a certain stigma about them.
Right, and so when it comes to anything online, just, maybe you just double check the books that you do have versus the wiki, just like, okay, are they matched up? I imagine that really what it's about is price. And so if you're talking a game like Pathfinder where there's like 80 million books,
right,
and they're all really expensive, and yet here's a resource that's like they're all free, and you can get the rules for free, why you would want to do that. Sit down with them. Why do you want to use is it convenience? Because everything's hot linked and you can just go from web page to web page. See it. Is it price? And just kind of see what's going on. And if it's a real problem and the DM feels like, yeah, I really want them to use the actual book because then I feel like everything's accurate, then try to reach some kind of compromise. Maybe you copy pages out of your own book and give them to them, or just help them pitch in and buy a book for themselves. It's hard to kind of see where the problem is for me because I use online resources all the time, but Wikipedia and all like crowdsourced stuff do have a stigma against them. So just kind of watch out for it. Yeah,
makes sense. Makes sense. All right, let's move on. Philip from Shadowdale would like to know, what if my PCs are overpowered? They apparently have no trouble in combat, and right now they are running the Lost Mines of Phandelver and about to fight Venomfang, and he is worried about it getting wrecked.
Yeah, so it's 5th edition, and all PCs are overpowered.
Yeah.
One of my criticisms about the game, as I have it, is I find the monsters just very underwhelming in terms of what they can do, their survivability, how they can affect the course of play. Players, PCs in 5th edition are meant to be powerful. Maybe not as much as they were in 4th edition.
Right.
And certainly lower levels, they're kind of fragile. But by 4th or 5th or 6th level, a group of PCs is going to tear apart almost anything that you can throw at it, unless it's like way out levels them.
Right.
So I would say, number one, that's a feature of the game, not necessarily a bug. Monsters are just a little weaker, particularly a single monster versus a group of players, and we covered that a bit in our Dragon show.
Yeah, talking about the action economy.
Yeah.
They just have more actions.
They just have more actions. The party will always have more actions than a single monster. So, I mean, I've never run Lost Mines of Phandelver, and certainly not the Venomfang fight, but what I would say is there a way to add like minions, something for the monster to have on its side to occupy the players?
Keep their focus elsewhere other than all on the dragon.
Yeah. In terms of just the pure mechanics of it, it can help to know exactly what the players are capable of. What spells do they have?
Right.
What is their hit bonus? What kind of hit points are they working with? What's their AC? So that you can look at a monster fight and go, okay, if they all have plus 7 or 8 to hit and this monster's AC is 15, then they're going to be hitting quite often. How often can they boost their damage? How much damage is the party capable of a round? Yeah. And maybe you give that dragon a potion of invulnerability, so it's taking half damage from everything.
Why not?
Maybe you give it a cleric ally that sort of worships it and can cast buffing spells on it kind of from the shadows that players have to then find. Minions are good. Also, why is that dragon fighting all 5 of them at once? Why isn't it snatching one of them, flying away, and then just fighting them one at a time? Or what I suspect would happen is that Dragon's breath weapon's really powerful. If it can get them all clumped up and breathe on them once or twice, then that's probably going to be enough to take out a party of 5th or 6th level characters.
Yeah.
Really just depends. I guess at the end of the day, also, if you're playing and you're finding as a DM that the fights aren't engaging enough, they're not fun enough, you want more, throw in more monsters. It's less a science, more of an art.
Right, definitely. Yeah. All right, Jim, let's continue on. Reach into the Crown Royal bag of questioning +1. Bob from Baldur's Gate would like to know, how do I convince my players that they need to buy a book because I'm tired of lending out my PHB.
This can be a problem for some groups. I don't know. I'd start off with, why don't they have their own books already? Is it because of money? Is it because of access? Is it because they just don't want to invest that much in the game? I mean, I try to find out why.
Right.
If it's a question of not wanting to invest that much in the game, there's probably not a lot you can do about it, other than just, are you showing up? Are you paying attention? Do you roll the right dice? Are you keeping track of your hit points? I mean, like, if you've got players that are that disinvested in the game, then there's other problems apart from them buying a book.
Right.
If it's a matter of money or whatever, then maybe the group can come in and pitch in and say, like, we'll just buy one book for the table so that the DM has access to a player's handbook that they can use as they need it, because the DM needs it as much as the players do. And when the DM's like, oh, I don't know what this spell does or this ability does, and you've got 5 players who are needing access to it, that's just not a good situation. It's going to slow down play. There's also the opportunity for them to use the basic rules that are free, if they're willing to use those, just the stripped down version that is. If there's a way to scan or copy the exact pages that they need, maybe it's a case of you've got a spellcasting player who just cannot remember what their spells do, and that's okay. Then maybe you just copy the 4 or 5 pages of the spells they use the most. They put it in a binder or notebook or whatever, or upload it into a PDF or something like that for themselves. Right. Why aren't they getting their own book? Is because they can't or because they don't want to? Then that's really the real reason. If it's something that they can't because they don't have the money or the means, then maybe pitch in and help out, and the entire group gets their own. If not, I don't know. They've got other problems, and I'm not sure that I can help them.
Yeah. Amazon, pretty cheap. Michael from Mulholland would like to know, if the DM is going too slow, how can I, as the PC, pick up the pace or juice the story a bit to make sure it's okay to be so slow?
So the DM's going too slow. Well, I mean, I'd want to know why. Like, is the DM going too slow because there's a lot of information that they're having to coordinate, keep together, and give to the players? Is it a really role-playing heavy session and it's just a lot of talking and a lot of getting through things? Maybe their players are trying to build an alliance or discover something or investigate something.
Yeah.
Those are things that are just the game is kind of built around, and for players who are more action oriented, you just kind of have to get used to sitting through those sessions.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's not multiple sessions in a row that they're doing.
Right.
And that's something like that in our games.
Yeah,
that you've had to.
It's something that I've come to terms with because you have to realize that, let's say there are 4 other people.
Yeah.
There's 5 players and a DM. Well, those 4 other people might be having a great time.
Right.
Diplomancing their way through this situation.
Right.
Right? Yeah, you have an awesome fighter that's got a great glaive and he can do all this stuff and sitting in a boardroom or a hall, discussing treaties and alliances. Maybe that's not your thing. Well, invest in a more social skill or something that can contribute to that. But yeah, like you said, as long as it's not multiple sessions in a row, because generally we've never had that problem.
Right.
It's always, slower, and then the next session we'll pick it up and it's awesome, so it's something you want to talk to either your DM or the other players about, because everybody bought a ticket for this movie.
Right.
And just because it's going a little slower than you like, they might not think that, and that's okay.
And that's okay. At the same time, you're allowed to have fun, and you're allowed to have the type of fun that you'd like to have. The other thing to look at is the game slow because there's a lot of table talk, there's a lot of stuff going on, maybe you're playing in somebody's house and there's distractions going on in the background. Right. So what you do there is, maybe you take more frequent breaks so that the table talk can get out. It's like, all right, once an hour we're going to take a 5 to 10 minute break so that we can talk about all the things that we love.
Right.
Because we're all friends as well, and get that out of the way. And then the other 50 minutes, we game, and we're hardcore focused on it.
Yeah.
If you're playing in somebody's house, you're just going to have to deal with that. They live there, and they've got other things going on. In terms of juicing up the story or making it more interesting for them, maybe as a player, you look at your character and go, all right, surely there's something I can contribute to this part of the game. Even if it's just an idea, even if it's helping another player come up with something, brainstorming, discussing what's going on in the game,
right.
There's probably a way to be really engaged with it. If you're one of those kinds of players where your character's not in the spotlight and you just check out, that's okay, as long as you're not just being disruptive for the rest of the table, and as long as, it's not persistent, like you're not checking out all the time, because then it's like, why are you playing?
Yeah.
It's time to talk to the DM and ask them, hey, I'd like to get more involved. These are kind of slow paced. What can I do?
Right.
And can we get to the action? If that's what you're looking for.
Yeah. Speaking of action.
That's
let's
is that a bonus action or an action that you're using to pull those things out of the bag, Pruitt?
Well, it depends. If I'm a rogue, then it's probably a bonus action, since If I was a thief, that
Yeah.
is. Carl from Callumsham would like to know, what are your thoughts on a themed game, a la Game of Thrones or maybe a Zelda?
So I love theme games. Outside of Dungeons and Dragons and Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, West End Star Wars was my go-to game when I was younger, and it never occurred to me that I shouldn't be playing in this world. The advantages of playing in a themed game are shared knowledge. Everybody kind of knows what's going on.
Yeah.
They're aware of the images, the themes that are evoked in it. And in that way, like even historical games are themed games. Like
Yeah.
what's more detailed and in-depth and people who obsess about it than our own history. My tips for those are the players are in the spotlight. It doesn't matter what the other characters did. It doesn't matter what's going on in the books and the novels or the TV show or the whatever. The players are it. And you either need to find a place for them to play in that world where they can have the freedom to make changes and to engage in it as much as they want, or you need to be comfortable with them saying, from here on out, everything is different.
Right.
If you're playing in Game of Thrones and you're starting at the end of Game of Thrones and right into the second book, then it's just like, it doesn't matter what happens in the second, third, and fourth book. From here on out, everything's different. And if the heroes are able to sweep in and stop the war before it gets out of hand and dethrone Joffrey and do all this other stuff and have it be all right, guess what? That's what happens.
Right.
And that's the fun of playing in those kind of games.
Yeah, you're creating your own continuity at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that engaging with your own continuity, creating your own mythos that surrounds these settings is part of the fun of playing in those kind of games.
Most definitely. And I'll bet as a DM, it's a lot easier, like what you said, where there's a shared knowledge and history. You know, you're not as the DM sitting there having to explain this and that and this and that. You know, this is the history of this and stuff that your players should know because they're a whatever race. It's got to be a lot easier.
It is a lot easier. And what I would say is for DMs, don't let that weight of information or background or story weigh you down.
Yeah.
Use it to your advantage. Don't feel hemmed in by it.
Right.
And really that's the case. Once you decide to play in an established setting, it's all yours. It doesn't matter what happened. It's
Yeah.
all yours now.
I think this is our last one here.
All right.
Dale from Daggerford wants to know, there aren't a lot of local players, and I want to run a game online. What's your advice on running a game online?
Well, I mean, I don't have a lot of experience in this, so I hope that I'll be of some help to them. What I would say is, you're looking to run a game online, or you're looking to go online for players? Because there's a lot of different places you can go to look for players. I've used meetup.com to meet a lot of really fun game groups, and I've had a really good experience with those. I don't know if where we live is more conducive to that kind of thing,
Right.
or whatever. Also, if there's a local brick and mortar game store or wherever you go to buy your gaming products, maybe there's a bulletin board somewhere where you can just put a piece of paper, hey, looking for players, here's my number, whatever. If you're looking strictly for online stuff and places like Roll20, other online tabletop games that they're not working out for you, or that you're a player there and you want to be more of a DM, I don't know, maybe try Google+. I'm not real familiar with the role-playing community there, but I know that there is a fairly significant community that role-plays through that. There are also gaming websites and forums that offer play-by-post gaming.
Right.
And that's much slower paced and
Yeah.
not to everybody's taste, but it is an option if there's not a lot of local players in the area.
You know what we need to do, Jim?
What's that?
We need to develop our own app like Tinder, but it's for players. Maybe call it like Roller,
Sure, okay.
ROLLR.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can make $1 million.
I like where you're going with that. I'll
Yeah.
just have to, I'll brush up on my
copyright.
programming,
Yeah,
and then we'll get it started.
yeah,
Yeah.
let's do it. Let's leave this whole WebDM business behind. So I think that's it for our mailbag episode. One other thing I'd like to point out, and you know who you are, we do have a DMG now. Finally bought one.
What you gonna do with that DMG?
Well, I hope to DM with it, I guess. I'm doing that Spelljammer thing. We've talked about it a few times.
Yeah.
Gonna talk about it again, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I'm really excited. One tip I would say is I finally listened to what everybody always says, to keep something with you to write down. You've been having problems writing. And let me tell you, I filled up half this little bugger in about a week and a half with nothing but campaign ideas.
Absolutely.
And let me tell you guys, I'm going to take you and the other group, and we're going to take D&D, and we're going to space.
And I'm really excited. And I love the tip for just carrying around something to jot notes in, because I can't tell you how many times I've been at work or somewhere or stopped at a red light, and it's like,
That's a great idea.
Great idea.
I can't wait to
Jot it
write
down.
that down when I get home.
No, you gotta write it down now.
Yeah, and then Taylor Swift comes on the radio, and you're like,
Done. And you're done.
it's over.
What are you gonna do? You can't save against that.
No. Thanks again for watching WebDM. We're gonna have new ones every Wednesday. Tell your friends. Come back next week.